Okay, now let me share my screen. What the heck? Okay. Okay, can you see the screen, or is it? Can you see the presentation screen, Nancy? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I know as somebody who goes to Loco, you're already completely aware of the fact that exercise is good for physical health and your kids' health, and that increasing general physical preparedness, GPP, helps kids to excel in more specialized sports. So it makes them just more resilient in everything that they do. It helps them avoid injuries. A lot of the MCL, ACL, knee injury tears that we see in a lot of youth athletes, making them stronger is going to help them avoid some of those injuries when they start to do more skill-specific sports. So just in general, bringing up their physical level and their overall conditioning and strength is really going to help them if they choose to specialize in sports. But what I want to talk about today is more focused on the impact of exercise on the developing brain. So exercise is really crucial for the developing brain because childhood and adolescent brains are really sensitive periods for cognitive and emotional development. There's a lot going on. Kids are gaining a lot of new synapses and neurons and connection pathways, and then they go through a really important period of pruning where they get rid of a lot of those neurons that aren't being used. So we need to stimulate the right stuff during ages 8 to 12 is a really big time period, so that they'll build the right pathways, right? So that they'll be ready for adulthood. So I wanted to just talk about, let's see, how do I switch things? Oop, go back. Let's just talk about some of the reasons that kids need exercise. So physical exercise requirements are about 60 minutes a day, and just hitting that time point is going to improve cognition, brain function, and mental health, and I'll discuss in more detail some of the mechanisms by which this is happening. But there's a bunch of studies out there that show that just hitting that 60-minute per day time period helps kids perform better in math, reading, science, and social studies through some of these brain benefits. It also helps them improve their attention and their focus, their concentration, their creative thinking, problem solving. And this is done through multiple studies that are showing that kids who exercise versus kids who don't have these benefits. So one of the ways that this happens is that exercise stimulates neurogenesis, which is the growth and survival of new neurons. And it does this through a bunch of the release of a bunch of neurotrophic factors. And that includes things like brain-derived neurotrophic factor and insulin-like growth factor. And these are considered to be things like miracle grow for the brain. So they help neurons branch out and join together and communicate in new ways. And it's been shown that BDNF, one of these brain-derived neurotrophic factors, increases based on exercise intensity. So things like high-intensity interval training, like CrossFit and resistance training, also seen in CrossFit, produce the greatest benefit. So putting kids into a stimulus like this is really going to help the production of these neurotrophic factors. And we'll see neurogenesis in brain areas like the hippocampus, which is important for memory, as well as the frontal lobe, which is really important for executive functioning, as well as emotional processing, stress regulation. So it's really going to help develop those areas as kids are moving into adolescence in their teenage years.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Right. And another thing that happens is exercise really stimulates new blood vessels in the brain and body. So it helps with circulation and helps with the transport of oxygen and nutrients to the brain. So alongside those neurotrophic factors, we're also bringing glucose and things that help the brain grow. So we're really facilitating the growth of these areas when kids need it most. One thing that's really cool that I think is interesting, and I'll just mention this, is there's functional neuroimaging studies, so studies that really just look at the activation in certain brain areas, looking at kids who exercise and kids that don't, and kids that exercise show a more mature and like adult-like activation patterns in the prefrontal cortex, so the area that's—
So they're better at making decisions and
absolutely, yeah,
choosing the right choices. That makes such a—
and they also show more inhibitory control. So they do a better job of being able to stop things and, stop in the middle of something.
do the studies show like a certain time of day that's best for the kid to work out, or is
no,
it just time?
No, so they haven't shown, so if you're, in terms of some of the stuff that we're talking about right now, they don't show specific times to work out, but exercise does help regulate like stress hormones and stuff, and we'll talk about that in a little. And if you're trying to help regulate sleep and your circadian rhythm and stuff, then exercising in the morning or the afternoon when you would see normal spikes in cortisol would be the most beneficial. Okay, so we also see releases in quote unquote feel good chemicals. So those are things like endorphins. Endorphins also work on your pain system. So they can help reduce pain if children are feeling that for some reason, or they've been sitting for 8 hours for virtual learning, as well as oxytocin, which is it's like the quote unquote love hormone, or it really helps with bonding and stress regulation and stuff like that. And they also see changes in neurotransmitter systems, so like dopamine and noradrenaline and serotonin, and those are all just our major neurotransmitters that are involved in, feeling good and our stress regulation, happiness, things like that. So next. So based on some of that information, it might come as no surprise to you that active kids show a whole bunch of mental health benefits, a lot of the things that we see in adults as well. So that would be fewer symptoms of depression and anxiety, lower stress levels, and they're more resilient to stress when they're challenged, as well as an internal locus of control, which means exercising helps them realize that they are in control of the outcome, right? So, and that's through a lot of different reasons, but a lot of times it's just working through goals, helps kids realize, if I put X, Y, and Z in, then I end up in this place. So developing that internal locus of control has been shown to really increase levels of happiness in adulthood. So people who have higher levels of understanding of that internal locus of control are much happier as adults. So it's really setting them up for success. We also see improved self-efficacy, self-concept, and self-esteem. So specifically for teenage girls, it really helps with body self-esteem. And it also helps them figure out who they are, right? So it helps kids kind of figure out what their purpose is, or how to get things done. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm at the age, like my girls are at the age now where we're learning about our bodies and hormones and like, all of that stuff. It seems like this fits right in, and I'm very careful with what I say with the girls, about their body and their body image and how they accept themselves. But I love that they would gain like a self-confidence through being able to control everything. I mean, it's just, I love this. I'm so glad I'm here.
It all makes sense. And that in particular, the body image and acceptance and just learning how to take care of your body is something that's really, really important for me to teach people that are of this age, especially girls. So learning at that early age, right, when you start to go into high school, when all, the world starts coming at you and giving you all these terrible messages, if you can learn to just take care of your body, I think it'll just like serve them so well as they get older. So that educational piece and helping them learn healthy habits is really, really important to me. All right, so that's a bunch of mental health benefits. So this doesn't want to go to my computer. Oops. There's some behavioral benefits outside of just the mental health benefits that you might see in increase in exercise, and that is change in sleep patterns. So a lot of teenagers have issues with regulating their sleep pattern and their circadian rhythm, and a lot of that has to do with screen time, and they're just staying up later. There's a lot going on. They have all the stress of the day. So increasing physical activity helps with sleep duration and quality, so they get more REM sleep. And physical activity is actually something that's prescribed to teenagers a lot of times when they are experiencing fatigue and sleepiness during the day, because exercise helps to improve autonomic dysfunction. It's just a really good, easy treatment for that. And a couple of other benefits from physical activity are social connectedness and group belonging. So like as a member of LOCO, you probably get that as an adult. We can provide something like that for kids too. I think that's something that's really, really important for teenagers, especially as they go into middle school and high school and they're kind of trying to figure out who they belong with. So some kids get that from sports teams and stuff like that, but not everybody has a sports team, or maybe you don't excel in a certain way at a sports team. This is really just kind of a larger social net that they can gain. They also learn self-regulation and coping skills. So when we talked about depression and anxiety and some of those symptoms, and exercise is a really good coping skill for that, and it helps teenagers learn that maybe if you're feeling really overwhelmed, we can just go for a walk and walk through it, and they can learn some of these healthy habits to cope in a better way than maybe using drugs or alcohol or something like that as they get older. It teaches discipline, as well as a growth mindset. So growth mindset meaning I have a goal in a year, and I want to do X, Y, and Z to work through it, and we'll hit every single milestone to show them progress, and they can learn that we just keep working towards that goal and we will achieve it. There's also a number of studies out there that shows that it increases time on task, meaning the ability of somebody to focus for longer, as well as homework completion. So there's actually a study that showed that teenagers, high school kids actually, that were involved in sports or exercise for more than 60 minutes a day showed a higher percentage of completed homework and better grades. So with all of those benefits, do you have any questions about any of that before we talk about some of the program details?
No, I want to hear the program details, because I do have, I just wonder how specific this is. I get the exercise part, but having workouts and focusing on goals and stuff, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so the overall program details are, we are looking for boys and girls that are 9 to 12 years old, and I chose that time period because that is a really important, intense age for development of all components of executive functioning and cognitive flexibility. So I really wanted to target the time when the brain matures, and to kind of be able to put kids into this environmental influence to stimulate some of those things that we talked about. So within the program, we're going to do a whole bunch of educational pieces. So it's an 8-week program, and it starts on September 22nd. And every week we're going to have a different portion of education, and we're going to do that for both the kids and the parents. So we'll have topics that we go over in a handout that we'll give to parents, and then we'll have homework that you can work through with your kids that are in the program. so that you guys can work together to kind of get the benefits of all of these things, like logical thinking and decision making and how that interfaces with physical activity. The 8-week program, like I said, starts on September 22nd. We are going to run it in 2 4-week sessions. So we'll do 8 weeks, then we'll do a break, and then 4 weeks, then a break, and then another 4 weeks. At the beginning of each 4-week, it'll be a payment of $118, and the course is going to run Tuesday and Thursday at 4:30 p.m. For that 8-week period. Do you have any other questions? What? I couldn't hear you, sorry.
I forgot I was on mute. No. Nope, that's good.
Okay. Oh no, Jennifer tried to get in, she missed it. Yeah, so do you have any questions about the specifics of what we'll be doing day to day or week to week, or how this is gonna show up?
Maybe walk me through like the first, like a session that you have planned so I can just kind of prepare.
Okay. Yeah, so the kids will come in. So one of the big components of this is I really want the kids that are participating to start to develop like group relationships. So they will have kid coaches and mentorship within the group. So they'll come in, one of the kids will help me lead the warm up. And then it'll look pretty similar to an adult CrossFit class in that we will have a skill session and then we'll work through a WOD together. We'll also just have some free time in there, some play, just time for them to kind of work through whatever they'd like. And then we'll make sure to end with an educational piece at the end of each class. So whatever we were going through that day, whether it's the skill or a mindset piece, we'll sit down and talk, and we'll have the kids will share kind of like how they're feeling or what their thoughts are on everything. And we'll slowly work through progression. So we're going to start first with really just body weight movements and getting kids on their hands and inverted and kind of working on all these type of stimulus. And then we'll slowly move through weights and higher skilled progressions.
Is this something that you guys want us to just drop the kids off, or you said there was a parent portion too? How will that work?
Yeah, so we'll want you to drop the kids off, and then I would like you to come back towards the end on the days that we're having the parent version of the education. So we'll give you a handout and we'll kind of talk to you about what we learned, and I think it would be really great if we had the kids participating also kind of educate you about what they learned that day. But for the most part, you would drop them off, and then we would meet back up at the end of the hour-long class.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm. All right. Jennifer, are you in this? Looks like she's still connecting. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. Hopefully Jennifer can get in and I can talk to her. Okay.